All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you all for attending and being part of this august group of citizens, and Gail too. Yeah, no, we need you to answer questions. Yeah. No, no, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here and appreciate you doing that. So I guess it's customary that I read this purpose statement for the Citizens Advisory Committee. The primary objective of the CAC is to ensure that capital maintenance and public transportation projects and programs approved by the RTA voters in November 22nd, 1904, November 6th, 1912, 2012, November 7th, 2017, November 8th, 2022 ballot measures are accomplished with RTA funds. This committee reports to the PPRTA Board of Directors. So I know it's like whoever was saying I've been here a long time. I was, you've been there 4 years. I'm going like, really? All right. So we have a quorum and all alternates can vote. So thank you all for being here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? All right, thanks, Russ. Barb, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Anybody online? Okay, all right. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Does anyone in the public not on the committee have any comments or anything? Karen, anybody? Nope. Okay. Any of the committee members have any comments? Not seeing any online. All right. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes from the May 7th meeting?
Yep, Mr. Chair, David Zelenak, happy to make that motion.
Well, thank you for joining us today, David. I appreciate your time.
I'll second.
And all right, and Tony Joy is here too, so that's cool.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'm telling you, all those.
Oh, wait, Mr. Chair, I did have a comment about the minutes. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so
Okay.
I did review them. It was just a typo in there, maybe it's worth correct, but Mr. Stang was noted he was part of Kono Neighborhood University, KONO. That should be, it's an acronym, all uppercase, CONO. So if anybody was to read this years from now, they may not know what that is. So
Okay.
I would just, consider that we make that minor typographical change to
Okay.
the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, they look fine to me.
Okay, and just so you know, if you didn't listen to the recording, I did ask Transit about something about bikes, just because you weren't here. So I thought I would ask in your favor. So that was all good. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as Carlos has suggested correction?
So,
All right, Tony, anybody else? So move, second, somebody? Okay, sorry, great. All those in favor? Aye. All right, great. Thank you very much. Financial reports, Lisa.
All right, Lisa Corey, Finance Manager for the PPRTA. The month I'm reporting is for March. The March sales and use tax revenue was above the monthly budget by $1,076,909, or 8.9%, with a total collection of $13,153,988. March 25 revenues were above March 24 actual by $555,390, or 4.4%. And with March, it did come in a little bit higher than expected. I assume it was just people buying ahead of the tariffs, so I don't think that it's really indicative of a trend.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It looks like the downturn. We'll see what happens here. 1Q might be stay in touch with the city. They get theirs direct and not so much of a delay. So see how there's not good. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Are we missing a graph on this month's?
The little bar chart, I mean,
Yeah,
the
the-
line chart thing.
Yeah, no, it's we normally have two of them, one with the
The scale it shows.
scale, and then one with the monthly. And this is the year to year, but I thought we had one for the month to
Yeah,
month.
it's page 1. Was missing.
No, the one that has the line graph that shows the three colors.
No, it's usually it's page one, because this one's page two. No, it's a different one.
No, it was the one that shows last year, our budget against actual one wasn't in here this time, so. But
Yeah,
it's okay.
I didn't miss it.
It's no biggie. Any other questions on the budget? Anybody, I mean, on the financials? Anybody got questions for Lisa?
Mr. Chair, just to call out on page 20 on the construction cost index, looks like it continues to go up, but it goes up less quickly, if that makes sense. So thank you for including that data. There we go. Thank you for
Okay.
it's still going up, and thank you for leaving it in. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
and as I found out, there's been the other last week at the 2C meeting, there's been a considerable drop in the cost of concrete recently. The city, at least on the 2C side of the house, has done some pretty innovative things in terms of bidding for some of that, but the price of concrete has gone down, so that's a good thing, so. Any other questions or comments on the agenda? I mean, on the financials? Not, all right, not seeing anything. Okay, great. Thank you. Lisa, how about the mid-year budget amendment?
All right, the 25 budget amendment is included. And that includes 24 carryover and revenue above budget. So for the 24 revenue above budget, and that came in at 6,590,489. And that's just the sales and use tax portion of it. Interest revenue also came in above budget by 2,420,164. And transit revenue was above budget at 685,437. And in this one, we also did an allocation of the rest of the PPRTA 2 capital reserves. So that was an additional 8,177,793. So our recommendation would be, well, we're looking for a positive recommendation to the board to set the public hearing date for July 9th at 1:30.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the budget, Carlos?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I had verified with Lisa that there was this is on this is on the budget, page 14. Maintenance program budget, this is for the city of Colorado Springs, just again, a typo, I'm finding typos here, but have the narrative in the paragraph match the table. Says program budget for 2025 has been increased from, something, 455. The table shows 155. And then a final amount that's 540,000. You see that middle number, it doesn't match the 25 amendment budget with carryovers. My recommendation, I think it's a typo, but it can cause someone to be confused as to what's the actual numbers. And so I just ask that those be, if it indeed is not supposed to match, that make a match.
And what page is that?
Page number, well, actually, it's 14, page 14 on the handout. Let me see what the item, let's see.
On the maintenance thing?
Yeah, let me double check. There's the handout plus there's also the packet. So let me get you it's the maintenance for Colorado Springs.
Oh, 537 versus a 540.
Yeah. And my understanding is they should be the same across the narrative and the table.
Yeah, the numbers in the first paragraph don't match the ones in the.
Yeah, and when you have things like this, I always think instead of duplicating values, just say as stated below, and just remove all the numbers, and then you don't have any ambiguity as to making sure numbers are spent. But that's just a editorial
Okay.
comment there. But if you want to keep the numbers in there, make sure they match, or just strike that, the sentences there to say see below. Has been, the program maintenance budget has been changed, see table below, and then that's it.
Okay. Tony, you had a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Because this is a budget amendment, for, moving forward here, are you making any predictions on what fallout from, tariffs and various other policies are going to do to us?
Well, that's why we didn't add any new
Right.
revenue.
I noticed that. That's good.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
Answer your question?
that was it. Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody else, when they looked at this online, have to turn their head? It was like cockeyed almost. It was like it was cockeyed on the paper, and it was like, anyway. Has nothing to do with approval of finance, but anyway. Are any other questions on the budget amendment? Not seeing any online. Do I have a motion to make a recommendation to approve the budget amendment as presented? Or as corrected by Carlos?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, Tony?
the-
All right, Rick, thank you very much. And Tony second,
Yeah.
okay. Any other, no, I get, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing anybody, okay, very good. All right, so item 6A, Colorado Springs projects. Gail,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Citizens Advisory Committee, Gail Sturdivant, the City of Colorado Springs. The city is bringing forth 6 contracts for the CAC's recommendation for approval to the board. The first one is for the Galley Road Bridge replacement. This is for where Galley Road goes over Sand Creek's West Fork. This is an RTA 2 A-list project, and there is a map included in your packet. We originally went for a construction contract bid in November of 2023. And then we had some delay with some issues with movement. Well, a couple things happened. One, the predicted allocation of costs that were going to go to Colorado Springs Utilities versus going to PPRTA changed. We had a significant time extension due to having to wait for Lumen to move the fiber optic in that area. That's the defense communication lines and that. So that was a very long process if anyone's familiar with that. And then at the same time, Colorado Springs Utilities came in and added additional work. So what we've done is worked with the construction contractor to basically reconcile the differences in the funding with what was allocated towards Colorado Springs Utilities and PPRTA initially. And then, of course, added their work and then compensated for the increase in costs associated with the time delay. As a result, there is a change in the PPRTA allocation of $820,964.20, and a deduction on the Colorado Springs utility side of $374,979.70 for a total change order to Miller Pipeline Construction in the amount of $445,984.50.
so Gail, just to clarify where I think this is where Galley narrows in just east of Murray.
Yes.
And it gets to just real narrow 2 lanes, no margins, no sidewalks or anything.
That's correct. That's how
Oh,
it was.
right.
But when it's complete, it will be a wider bridge as well, so you can have a normal road section go
We've
through
been,
there.
we've been talking about this for a few years.
Well, yeah, but if it's on the list.
This was
we-
Reb's #1 project for.
It's the
Anyway.
one where the sidewalk kind of sticks out. into
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move on to contract number 2. You guys can give me a hard time later. All right, contract number 2 is a bridge maintenance contract for the bridge on Old Ranch Road that goes over Kettle Creek. There is a map included in your packet. This is going to be a rehabilitation of the bridge, and while we're doing it, we're going to widen it in preparation for a PPRTA 3 A-list project that will be done here in a couple of years. The city went through an RFP process to find an engineer to help us with the services. Hardesty Hanover was selected, and the contract amount would be in $568 and $568,855. The city's third contract is for the Sinton Trail Phase 1 improvements. This is part of the PPRTA 2 A-list Sinton Trail program. There is a map included in your packet. This essentially is going to run from Holland Park Boulevard to Elston along that Sinton Trail corridor. And with this work, they're going to be replacing the asphalt, the deteriorated asphalt trail with a concrete trail, eliminate some hazard, improve some drainage, improve connectivity in that area. We went through an RFP process. We had 10 bids, and Elite Surface Infrastructure was selected. The amount is $796,378.04. City's fourth contract is for the Tejon Street revitalization. This contract was originally approved in October 2004. We did go through an RFP process, and we had 3 respondents. We did select Even Pricer to complete the work. But what we've done is we had to go back and reevaluate the cost allocation for this particular project. So in your memo, the first table really shows what the original contract cost allocation we were anticipating, and the second row shows us the revisions. So for example, our grant, we didn't have the whole 1.6 million, we had closer to 1.5 million. City Parking Enterprise has contributed over another $2 million. The PPRTA amount, which was just over $2 million, is going to be reduced to $500,000. Also changing the color of the money we had in that October contract. We called it out as the intersection improvements, but we had the wrong account number. It was on Street Bike, although we were counted against our intersection improvement project, but we are reducing it and changing it to the PPRTA 3 Roadway Safety and Traffic Operations Program. And then we had a cost reconciliation with the Downtown Development Authority. We also wanted to add in some money in a force account for this construction contract, because we already are starting to see some unexpected conditions in the roadway. We want to be able to have the flexibility and adaptability to deal with those as we're going along. So overall, the change order itself is really just for $200,000, which is the $200,000 we want to move new. But this memo is also correcting the accounts that we want to use in the cost split allocation for this particular contract. The city's fifth contract is for pin down durable barrier. The city uses these to implement temporary traffic control changes, a lot of times with neighborhood traffic control systems, but sometimes also with demonstration projects we're doing in the area. We have been using these with other activities around the city, in particular with our Safe Streets and Roads for All demonstration grant project. We have $80,000 still underneath that grant where we'd like to be able to use those funds. But once we were going through and doing this new contract, we also wanted to add up to $100,000 of PPRTA funds so we could continue to do these temporary traffic control modifications. The city did go through an RFQ process. We had 8 respondents. It was determined that Impact Recovery had the best price for the materials that met our specifications.
I failed to look it up, but are these those little poles you put on the
Stickums?
stick
Yes.
things? Is that what these are?
Can I just call them stickums?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So they're the little poles, not a barrier exception. But
correct. It
okay.
is, they're flexible delineators to really help us.
Okay.
And again, when we're going to making a lot of these temporary traffic control changes, or want to make traffic control changes, we'll frequently do them temporarily just to demonstrate the effectiveness, and then before we would go and do something permanent.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, the city's sixth contract, it shows both Mark Shuffle Road and Dublin Boulevard on here. As you recall, Dublin is being treated as a phase of Mark Shuffle, but this particular action is for the Dublin Boulevard improvements, which is a PPRTA 3 A-list project. The map is included in your area. We have a property acquisition for this project that is over 100,000, which requires us to come both to the PPRTA CAC and board, but also to City Council for approval. This is to get a variety. It's the Stetson Ridge Metro District #1, owns a variety of different properties along the edge on the south side of Dublin. So we need to go through and do that acquisition, which the appraised value is and the agreed upon price is $129,400. We're asking for the PPRTA CAC and board's approval on this, knowing that we'll be going to City Council June 9th and June 24th to finish all the steps to be able to complete this property acquisition. Those are the city's 6 contracts.
And that Dublin's not going to interfere with the fire station there,
That
right?
is correct. We've been working super with them really well. So our intent is always to be able to get them in and out any way they need to go, even if we have had a full closure there.
Any questions for Gail on the city's contracts? Not seeing any comments online either. Do I have a motion to approve as presented? Okay, thank you, Russ. Second?
I'll second.
All right, Rick? All right, thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Not seeing or hearing any. All right, the recommendation's approved. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
City of Colorado Springs requests to borrow 2.5 million from RTA 3 Capital Reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Gail Stewart again for the City of Colorado Springs. I'm going to step through this memo and then open it up for questions should you have it. But the city is requesting an advance on the PPRTA fund balance reserve to be able to advance the intersection improvements of Brookside and Nevada Avenue. Just as a reminder for policy 7, and we did include it in your packet, the reserve is set aside for things that may occur for the policy as outlined in the memo, but the bottom paragraph in that policy has the provisions where member governments can borrow from the reserve. So I just want to point this out. That's not something new that we're coming and asking. It's a policy that's been contemplated, and I believe it's actually been used in the past. But we are asking for a loan essentially out of that reserve, and again in the amount of $2.5 million. So I want to talk about why we're asking for this loan now and the situation we're in, and why we think it's important to be able to at least have the flexibility and an ability to move forward with this project sooner than we originally expected. And I am going to ask Jared, if you could please put the exhibit up when I go through these next things, just to be able to give you an example. So this, on the exhibit, let me give you a quick orientation. Nevada Avenue goes north-south, with north being up to the top of the page. Brookside goes east-west, and as Brookside sits today, it is offset, and those are the white lines on both sides. The dashed red lines that come up basically as a concept of what would be realigned for Brookside to bring it, so it's a fully aligned intersection at Nevada Avenue. This is a safety project the city has been contemplating and desiring to do for some time. We've had many discussions with Colorado Department of Transportation about this as well. It's a joint intersection, and most of the work there to fix this problem is within the city's jurisdiction. The reason why we wanted to advance it now is that we have a developer who is seeking to go and purchase what he has stated, and it appears that he has contracts on a couple of these properties. But we would like to be able to go in and proceed with this project far enough to the point where we can make at least property acquisitions so we can get to the point we can finish the road construction project. We're just concerned that as development goes through, that we might not have all the abilities to do the road improvements really in the best way that would give us the true safety benefit we desire for our residents. The other thing is, you may ask, well, why aren't you just using the program monies that you have now? We intend to do this project with the city's PPRTA 3 Intersection Improvements Program. And we did have a $5 million budget going into the 25 year, but the reason why that budget was so high is because we had a significant local match $4.6 million for the intersection improvements in the grant we received to improve US 24 and Peterson, which is in construction. And then we've already obligated another almost 400, just under 400,000. So essentially, we've already obligated the whole $5 million really that's available, or what it could have been available in that fund. So we are asking for consideration for this loan. And the city, we don't anticipate it being a one-time check of $2.5 million, but we feel like we need the ability over the next year, year and a half, to be able to have this loan available to us, knowing that we should be paying it back within a year after it's used, not when it's when we actually make spend on it. And we would do so assuming that it aligns with funds that are available through our budgeting process. So I'm going to turn it back over to you to see if there's other questions, but hopefully that gives you a good idea why we're coming and asking for this consideration.
Go ahead, Carl.
So 2 questions, one clarification. So the money would only be for this project, the Brookside in Nevada. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And is there any conceptual plans, and this is maybe out of scope, but conceptual plans of what the city has in mind for those properties north of that realignment?
So, I mean, the answer is no, and that's somewhat intentional right now. And our understanding is that the developer desire to do full takes on these properties. We may have to take full takes because of the way, you can't tell by the image on your screen, but the way the road would be realigned, there are some structures very close to that right-of-way line. So we may just be purchasing right-of-way, or we may have to purchase the whole property. So depending on what happens as the project progresses, depends on how much we would actually have to purchase. But the reason why the amount I'm asking for so much for, kind of hearing what the developer was willing to pay for the 3 properties, I have an idea what it costs for me to get the engineering far enough along to be able to go and do the appropriate level of property acquisition for the city. Should we do full takes, then the city would go through some sort of process in the future to determine what would happen.
Yeah, that intersection is offset. In there's a KFC just on the other side of Nevada, isn't it? Right
All
on-
right,
Right on.
I'm going to phone a friend here because these two are way more familiar. I believe the KFC is right on the other side to the
Just on the other
south.
side of the street, isn't it?
I've got so many friends here, the southeast corner. I was thinking it was the southeast corner.
Yeah.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
KFC.
Okay. Yeah, that intersection is misaligned, and it is kind of awkward, given the high schools back there behind that. There's a lot of traffic that comes through that
And
intersection.
Land's son, who just graduated,
Yes,
attended that school. So she would tell me frequently what a nightmare it is.
yes, yes. When I was doing driver training, I used to go through that intersection just because it's unique to get the students to figure out what the heck was going on. So, but anyway, yeah. Any other comments or questions, Barb?
So Gail, are we gonna get into some kind of a bidding war with this developer? With these property owners?
So I would hope not, and I think the answer is likely no, Barb. I think that I did let him know that I was going to be coming and asking for some money, and we intended to, if we were successful getting this loan, moving the project forward. He has stated that he has contracts with 3 properties. He may choose to completely back out of those contracts, or if he proceeds, then we would have to go and purchase from him, but we would still be following the city's right-of-way or property acquisition process, which would require us to do full appraisals. And we typically make offers on the appraised value.
Go
But we
ahead.
would not be putting the individual property owners in a bidding war per se, if that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. What's the plan for the right of way that's being abandoned to the south of the,
Also,
Realignments.
something that would be determined, city has very specific rules and regulations about that. My guess is that I could speculate on one of 2 things that would likely happen. One is if it was viable to do some kind of development that would be for the benefits of the residents, we would do that, or we would dispose of it / sell it to the adjacent property owner in accordance with our real estate regulations and very typical, like Uniform Act property type approach when you dispose of property. But both those actions, both the questions that are asked would really require city council action. And there's a couple different options, I think, that just have to be explored in the future.
All right, any other questions for Gail? Anybody online? Not seeing anything. So do I have a motion to recommend that we approve or the board approve city's request to borrow from the capital reserve account?
Yeah, I would make that motion.
Thank you, David.
Second.
All right, Ed Dill, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any- Any opposed? Not seeing any, motion carries. Thank you. I gotta tell you that that part of town looks a lot better over the last 4 or 5 years, so making some improvements down there. All right. Um, item 7B, oh, we've already done that one. 7C, powers. Oh, I'm sorry. We're on 6C, El Paso County. Sorry.
You
Sorry,
can skip
Josh.
it if you'd like. I wouldn't.
No,
I
I
wouldn't object.
did. I have it on the paper. I just wasn't looking on the.
Yeah, the county has two contracts to present to you today. The first being a design contract award for the Stapleton Briargate, as it's listed on the voter action, from Black Forest to Volmer. So this is design. It builds on the corridor planning study that was completed as part of PPRTA 2. This is a PPRTA 3 A-list project. And we're requesting award to Wilson and Company for the design in the amount of $1,871,666. The second it's not a new contract and purchase order, but it's for Mountain View Electric for the service line extension for the signal at Mark Sheffel and Mesa Ridge Parkway. If you recall, going back to May of 2023, the board voted and approved the contract for the design, the advanced design and construction of the signal at Mesa Ridge and Mark Sheffel. So this was in advance of the actual project on Mesa Ridge. This was to put the signal in sooner before the project was completed itself. However, there was an oversight where we failed to present and award, get approval to award the service from Mountain View Electric to the signal itself. So the work's already been done. Hopefully the board approves because the signal is already operational. It'd be hard to take the electricity back. But so this is a correction for work that was done. The contract was awarded in May of 23 and completed, I think, beginning of 2024 when the signal was up and operational. So this is just kind of a correction of an oversight to award and pay the invoice to Mountain View Electric. So, more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Looks.
have
Go
one quick
ahead.
question.
Go ahead, Tony.
When that project was done, designed and completed, at the time, was there money left over in that was then transferred somewhere else into a different project?
So the money for this all came through the allocation for the project, the Mesa Ridge project itself. So what we did is we broke out the intersection at the time had already met warrants for a signal. So rather than waiting until the entire project was complete, we advanced the signal design and construction. So the design, construction, and then the 33,000 for the service all came out of the bucket of money for the project itself. So it wasn't a standalone project. It all came out of the money that was already allocated to that project, to the Mesa Ridge Parkway project.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking then is, was there money left over from that big bucket?
That project isn't complete yet. The Mesa
Oh,
Ridge
it's not?
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll see probably over the next couple of months, you'll see a request to award for construction. Design is about 99% complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Josh on the county's contract request? Not seeing any online. Do I have a motion to approve the county's request as presented? Tony, a second, anybody? Okay, thank you, Craig. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Okay, not seeing any. Motion approves. Thank you. Transit Land. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Line Rail Transit Division Manager, Mount Metro Transit. In your packet is Transit's monthly report. On the first couple pages, you will see our ridership information as well as the revenue service hours and the ridership per hour. The third page included information, basically year-to-date information for the last 5 years, and the ridership included in that report is from January through April for each individual year. Under the transit highlights section, we included a few exciting things that have been happening at transit. We were able to offered a training site using our buses on transit campus for Colorado Springs Police Department. They were able to conduct their training using our buses. This really is a win-win situation. It helps police officers to help with their SWAT team technical proficiency, and also helps transit in the event there are situations on the buses. So we were happy to host that event for our officers. We included ridership per bus route information this month. This is a report that had been requested by the board in the last 2 to 3 years. The intent, the question was really, how is our ridership looking like compared to pre-COVID? We included 2019 boardings information or / ridership information, as well as a full year 2024 and 2023 information. We're thinking this might be the last year we include this report, because at some point we got to move on from COVID. But we kept the pre-COVID information for this year still. From this report, there are some positive trends compared to pre-COVID and compared to year 2023. I will just highlight a few of those routes between 2023 and 2024. Route 38 is the route that operates from Montebello on North Academy to Memorial North and Children's Hospital. This route has shown a pretty significant ridership improvement. We did make some changes. If you recall, during our spring service change last year, we added more stops along that route. It seemed to be riders are responding to this change positively. This is a deviated fixed route that will deviate from that fixed route bus within 3/4 mile on each side. So it is a pilot route that we are running, testing how this different mode of operation works. The other positive trend that we saw is on Route 35, which operates from PPSC South Campus to Genital Las Vegas. A few routes were not so great. And some of the contributing factors could be because, again, transit is part of our ecosystem. If there's a delay, there's an accident, there's detour construction, the bus is affected by that. But a couple routes really came to our attention. The ridership had significantly impacted negatively. One of them is the ZEP downtown shuttle service. We had been struggling with driver and vehicle shortage in the last 2 years, and this is the first candidate on that cut list in the event we have a shortage. The thought process behind this is a higher level of service, providing more frequent service. Therefore, in the effort to preserve the lower level frequency routes, we're cutting this more frequent routes. So the ridership really suffered. On the other hand, we see that positive connection between frequency and ridership. Route 36 is the seasonal shuttle running in Manitou Springs. We have been making a lot of tweaks and trying to make that route more successful. We have more information to share with the board next month. So with that, that's the ridership information. A lot of the ridership overall system performance was negatively impacted still by driver and vehicle shortage. However, we're making some improvements on that front. I did include a report a few months ago to CAC and the board in terms of what we have been doing, tackling those challenges. And I am happy to report that in September 2024, we were able to provide 95% of the scheduled service. Well, last month, in May 2025, we were able to provide 99.3% of that scheduled service. Although it's getting better, but that impact, if the bus doesn't show up, it's still a pretty strong impact on our riders. So we do recognize that. Of the 0.7% missed service, missed trips, 60% of that is attributable to driver shortage, while 40% is because of vehicle shortage. Yes.
Route 22, Route 20. Did you talk about that 400%?
Thank you. I forgot. Route 20 was a relatively newer route that we added on South Nevada. The challenge on South Nevada is traffic and buses stuck behind that traffic, and especially on the weekend. So what we did was we looked at Route 10 and 11. They both leave downtown terminal, but they go separate ways after Southgate. So one continues on 115, one goes to Cheyenne Meadows neighborhood. So, and then they meet at PPSC South both. So what we did was we looked at the worst part of those two routes, and we realized we identified the most problem section is from downtown terminal to Southgate. So, and the problem is worse on the weekend. So we added this Route 20 on the weekend to help with that on-time performance issue. People are using Route 20. The ridership does show, but the other part to that huge increase is we added Route 20 in, so it only ran partial year when we added that in 2023. So the increase is pretty significant.
Okay. Lan, have you noticed any trends in terms of, I know you've got the two different kinds of ridership and those that are dependent and whatnot, but have you noticed any trends moving away from public transit in general? There's a lot of negatives in here. And so is that on given routes for a particular reason, or is it a general trend that the public is not using or doesn't want or anything like that? Have you noticed anything like that?
No, we have not noticed that.
Okay.
Actually, on the opposite, we have seen a steady ridership increase.
Good. Okay.
I think some of that decrease could be the zero fare that we were able to offer for 3 months in 2023 versus 2 months in 2024. So those are contributing factors. We do see a closer tie between fare free versus fare charging.
And it's 3 months this year, right?
3 months this year. I did share that our kickoff was supposed to happen yesterday, but due to weather, we had to reschedule that to the 12th.
Okay.
So we would love to see you there. Actually, that's part of our updates on the last page.
Okay.
We included some upcoming events also. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer my questions.
Peter, go ahead.
Just one quick one. Your table here that shows 23, 25. In April, everything's pretty consistent and increasing your ridership until you come down to the van pool, and it goes from 802 to 520. That is do you have a lead on why everything else is consistent and the van pool is so such a drastic drop?
For this one, we did lose a couple vans, and we actually looked into the reasons for that. There was no clear conclusion of what happened. Some people moved, some were due to change of employment. But what we are really working on for the van pool services, we are making sure the van that is running is full. So we're not running an empty van because that is more flexible. We can adjust the number of vehicles based on the ridership more easily than fixed route. What we are also looking at is we have been receiving more inquiries, more phone calls. Some have resulted in, actually, you will see an increase in May, additional van added in May. That's not included in this report. But we have been getting more phone calls lately. Well, initially, with the return to office mandates, because a lot of the customers are federal employees. But then with the job situation, a lot of them did not result in more demand here.
Well, I just thought, I mean, with everything being so consistent throughout your report, and then all of a sudden you get down there and that drastic drop, I thought maybe a new competitor stepped in or something like that.
No, it's an individual rider situation.
Okay, thank you.
So a question, when you said you're focusing on Vans Pool, when I was driving back and forth to Denver daily, sometimes I'd see two, sometimes just three people in a van. So are you saying that if you don't have 9 passengers or 6 passengers, you don't run the van? Is that?
We have, for example, for the 7-passenger minivans, we consider 5 as the minimum. But if we do drop below 5, we do give the van pool riders a couple months to try to recruit and fill the van. So and also 5 people might not be going in the office every single day.
Right.
So you might see a little up and down there.
Sure.
Affecting the ridership.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions for Lan on the transit report? Right, good job, Lan, thank you.
Thank you.
Member governments and other reports. 7B, change order and property acquisition. It's information only. It's in your packet. Anybody have any questions for Gail? Not seeing any. And let's see, what else? Colorado Springs North Powers reimbursement. Yeah, you want to just highlight that?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. So in keeping with the giving you an update on expenditures that have an impact to PPRTA because of the reimbursement agreement between Copper Ridge Metro District, the city, the county, and PPRTA for Powers Boulevard, provide a summary statement. There were several line items that were picked up for invoices, most of which are for engineering associated with the work that's been done for the project. And most of this is really related to the Voyager Bridge, which is an allowable cost. So with this statement, I'm showing a total of 1.65 million. 1.63 goes to PPRTA, and the other 24, almost 25,000 would go towards Colorado Springs Utilities. So total liability right now to PPRTA is 19.7 million.
Okay, any questions for Gail on that? All right. Thank you, Gail. Quarterly reports from member governments. Rick, you want to head this off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is my microphone working?
Yes.
Okay. Just an information item. This is the quarterly reports that the comprehensive IGAs require of each of the member governments. And this is for the first quarter of 2025. Be glad to take any questions.
I just got an observation. I don't know if it's in a form of a question or not, but I think it's on the cities that shows the table that has the yellow and green bars on it. Where it's under design and under construction. some of those yellow lines are like 3 years in the engineering phase. Is that, I mean, it takes 3 years to engineer some project? I'm just curious. I'm not being an engineer, not
Well,
involved in it.
yeah, so Jim, let me just, we show just really two categories, whether it's the design or engineering phase or just construction. And sometimes, yes, the answer, short answer is yes, but a lot of times that's including things from planning, stakeholder engagement, the
Okay.
engineering, and property acquisition, which property acquisition, I think it's easy to say is roughly a year minimum on most of these PPRTA projects. So yes, it is an extended period of time, but we refer to that all as the engineering
Okay.
phase.
All right, that clarifies it. Thank you. All right, item 8A, report of recent board actions. Rick?
Again, an information item, be glad to take any questions.
Any questions for Rick on board actions?
Did you notice he got congratulated? Everybody, he's 20 years. He's been helping us.
20 years?
Hey, but, Mr. Chair, one question for Rick, possibly. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I was gonna bring that up in the communications piece, so yes, thank you. Congratulations to Rick, and thank you for your hard work. The person at some point in time that has to follow you has got huge shoes to follow. So that's all I can say. You're quite welcome. And I think the community doesn't realize what this program has done and the work that goes behind it. And kudos to a staff of 2 that make this work. And we're putting $200 million a year into our transportation infrastructure, and how smoothly it flows is a credit to you and Lisa and the team. So thank you.
And I might add, 0.53% of their budget.
Exactly.
Is all they use.
Exactly. All right. Communications. Anybody have anything you want to share with the crowd? Ed and I do. For those that may or may not be aware, we have some things. El Paso County is having a Citizens College coming up in October 13th through the 18th, in which you'll get an opportunity to attend during that week a couple hour session that covers most of the major divisions within the county. Very informative. So I would just encourage you, if you think you might be interested, save the date, and registrations will be coming out shortly, if not already. We would like to encourage you to take part. You're involved in government now with this program. Find out what the county is doing and how they do it, and we encourage you to take care of that. Anybody else have any communications?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just combining with communications, but I did have an agenda topic for possibly next meeting or some future meeting.
Okay.
Did we cover that?
No,
number
I
9?
did. I skipped over. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. Anyways, it was for consider. I did notice, and this is more of a discussion on how we present our cover sheets here. This actually refers back, I think it's policy number 8, but I have noticed that our member governments are presenting PPRTA 3 and 2 in kind of an inconsistent way. I would just consider maybe we can go back and revisit the cover sheet and have check boxes that this is a PPRTA 2 project, a PPRTA 3 project, because sometimes I'll look at the project name and I'm glad that we're putting in, like El Paso County says it's 2024 to 2035. Colorado Springs says it's PPRTA 3, Roman numerals, things like that. So I was just wondering if maybe maybe staff can look at this. Again, it's a low priority, not urgent. But I do go back and look at those projects to see, is it a PPR? And I'm just making sure we're not commingling funds, I guess is really the concern there, is that we are allocating these capital projects to the correct tranche of money, PPRT 3 or PPRTA 2. So this is going back and just revisiting the cover sheet, just a cover sheet. And it's just a format change, but you check a box, this is PPRTA 3 or PPRTA 2. Sometimes it's absent, so you have to go back and look at the capital projects, but it's just updating that cover sheet, which I've noticed, by the way, hasn't been changed in 20 years, coincidentally. Coincidentally, I think it's 2004, but this policy, I think it's policy number 8. I'm just going to verify that, but I'm just going to bring that for consideration. Again, if it's not important to staff or to the rest of the board here, I can do what I'm doing now, which is just reviewing it and relying on the member governments, and they're doing a great job of telling you where we're getting this money from. But I thought maybe applying a consistent way of doing it across the board rather than each member government doing it their own way could be very helpful for me, because I'm usually pressed for time and I have to go through these very quickly, and then having to spend time to make sure it matches up with with the tranche of money from PPRTA 2 or 3. So that was a thought. I know this is a discussion. I didn't want to say, yeah, I want to feel strongly about it, but I just wanted to open that up to see if anybody else had that same
Okay,
idea or concern or question about that.
okay. Rick, you had a comment?
We'll be glad to take a look at it. I like the idea, and we can just generate some changes with different boxes, label it PPRTA 2 or 3 and check the box.
Okay,
No hurry on this. It's nothing urgent. So be a future topic when they're ready to come back and report back to the CAC. Say, here's what we'd like to see for the cover sheet.
okay.
And if there's anything else too that needs to be changed, perhaps this is a time to revisit policy number 8.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Right now on the cover sheet, the way you would determine if it's PPRTA 2 or 3 is by the account number, because the account numbers have changed, for capital and maintenance. So, but I think an easier read, in addition to the change in the account number, would just be add another line with a box to check.
Okay. And just for some of the newer members, even though we're in RTA 3, the balance of PPRTA 2 funds continues to be spent until they're exhausted. And so you mentioned the word commingle. There is a separation, different accounts, separation of funds. Matter of fact, we're actually just finishing up some RTA 1 projects. We haven't done it. Not let it go. I will not. But it's so I'm just saying is that accountability, that those accounts are separate, and that even though we're in RTA 3, we're still spending RTA 2 money that was collected and allocated to the folks as those projects progress. So
Yeah, one's gonna retire with Rick.
yeah, one of them's going. Who's going to retire with Rick?
One will retire, but Rick
One will retire when Rick did. Okay, that's
will
it.
be here a while.
No. Anyway, so just. Oh, okay. Who's got a question? Dave?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, I just had a quick question. Maybe this is more for Rick. I see we have 2 vacancies. One is from the Springs CTAB group and one is from Calhan. Please, Rick, could you refresh my memory? Has someone left, gone on? I was just wondering what the reason for the vacancies is. That's my only question.
I think the Karen Asplin term was limited on CTAB, and she came over and became an at-large, board approved. And I don't know if Cindy's on, but I've asked her I see that she is on. I've asked her what the situation is with Callahan. Cindy, do you want to address that? She has previously told me that she's working on a candidate, but we don't have anything yet. So, and with regard to the vacant CTAB position, we're just waiting to hear back.
Okay. Good answer, Rick. I'd forgotten Karen had moved from the CTAB position over to the at-large position. That's great. Goodbye. Well, hello, welcome. Thank you, Karen, and all the above categories. I just didn't want to miss thanking somebody for years of hard work. I couldn't figure out who it was that was there that now isn't there, other than, of course, Cindy, but Karen was the mystery in my brain. So thank you for clearing that up.
Okay, thanks, Dave. And Rick, do you want to maybe highlight the Brandy situation for those that may not have been part of that?
Certainly. A few months ago, when Brandy was running for council, Brandy Williams, CAC member, she asked me if she would have to quit the CAC if she got elected on city council. And so I researched that in our various documents, and particularly in the CAC bylaws and the establishing IGA. And there's no mention, it's silent, so there's no prohibition. I double checked with Jennifer Ivey, the board attorney, and she confirmed my reading. There's no prohibition. So when Brandy was elected to city council, she confirmed with me that she did want to stay on the PPRTA CAC. So I ran that up the flagpole with you, Jim, with Brian Risley, the board chair, and Brian asked me for my opinion, and all three of us did not have a problem with Brandy staying on, so she's staying on. Now her first term on the CAC ends December 31 of this year. So we'll see how her workload goes, and if she wants to require our usual month that we start getting active on applications for renewals is October. So we'll see how Brandy's feeling about wanting to request another term on the CAC.
And the other determination was whether the council was going to appoint her to the board of directors of the RTA, which would have a conflict being on the
Yeah.
CAC and the board. So
Thanks, Jim, for pointing that out. So, and as you know, our new city council board directors are Mr. Bailey, Tom Bailey, and Kimberly Gold, adding to Brian Risley, the board chair. And I've given an orientation to Mr. Bailey, and I've requested my usual 2.5 hour orientation with Kimberly Gold, and we have a tentative date of the 17th. I was hoping to chat with her before the next board meeting on the 11th, but right now it's looking like it will be the 17th.
okay. Any other questions, comments, communications? Anybody? Anybody online? All right, very good. Thank you all for your time. We'll call it adjourned. Thank you.